song is more beautiful than yours.
I think we have an argument about this. I have to confess, I have a 9 and you have a 950. Yeah. And what are you doing when you're missing the 60s and the 70s?
I just feel unhappy. I write poetry.
Huh?
I write poetry.
You write poetry. Okay.
That's the only way to deal with it.
That's the only thing, yeah.
But you saw those films at the Eye yesterday, the avant-garde films from the 60s. I mean, those are all attempts to manifest and your expression to things everyone walks around with every day. Or
it was a sense of liberation in this film. It was a sense of liberty and a sense of fantasy and a sense of independency also from the medium itself. Yeah. They used them. There was one work with somebody put leaves and insects between two film strips and glued it together and then put the film strips into the projection.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking of the attitude in the 60s. There was all, it's like our parents have put up all kinds of fences and restrictions. It was kind of a slightly irresponsible attitude, childish. Let it all hang out, but we'll just demolish all the fences. And our parents were wrong to have all these fears.
Yeah.
And we just take away everything. We're back in sort of paradise.
Yeah.
Because we take down the walls and the fences.
But we are afraid more than ever.
Yeah, because we discovered, I think, partly that there were reasons for putting the fences up, and we rediscovered the reasons. It's partly because we discovered that the other is not always friendly. But then we discover that we ourselves aren't always friendly. So the fences are just as much to protect the other from ourselves as.
That's one of the reasons in my novel, when I wrote my novel, and in the end there is a catastrophe with artificial intelligence, where artificial intelligence is involved. And this catastrophe becomes because artificial intelligence is a mirror of the human being, of course, because we created it. And our abysses are in this creation as well. And as long as we don't look into our abysses, it will be in this invention, there will be the abysses of us in it. And so the end is, I close the story with the thing like in the Middle Age, when in the myth, when there's a dragon who is dressing everybody, and the princess is in the cave of the dragon. But today, the artificial intelligence is like a dracon, like a dragon. Drakon means to fix you. That's a Greek word. That's where dragon comes from. And this artificial intelligence is looking at us and playing with our abysses.
You have to be able to deal with what you find if you take offense away. Instead of offense, you have to have some kind of self-control or self-understanding.
Self-understanding, self-awareness.
They organized into companies like
Sinking
the Dutch
ship
East
of
India Company and the Dutch.
Maybe it's a metaphoric for our relationship to technique and science.
Yeah, we're sinking ourselves. We think we're going up, going to Mars. Actually, what we don't realize is that Earth was colonized by people escaping from a dying Mars. That is the opera house side of the. They have a very good program. It's really
An
good
opera house
directors.
built it on the house of
Location of the orphanage.
orphanage who were
For Jewish
hiding,
children,
and they put them all to the death camps.
Yeah. I'm not sure when, but it's something I began to hear in the 80s. People were telling me that.
They found it out
I've
in the
not
80s.
read it in the book, but people started telling me that. So I believe it's true.
But it's so obvious. It's like Arno Breker made it. Look at this. That's really.
But people forget.
People want to forget. They want to forget. Yeah.
Maybe you can find something with a story about it too. Yeah. This is York Harbor in Maine. There are a couple of
What
places.
means this Bragdon ES?
It's an island.
Harris ES?
Island.
Island.
Yeah.
There is a Bragdon Island.
Yes, well, the Bragdons were among the very first settlers in York, Maine.
Ach zo.
1636. It was Arthur Bragdon came from Stratford-on-Avon. He had a royal charter for a domain, quite a large bit of land there, stolen from the Indians, of course.
Yeah.
And that farm, his land, a lot of it is still there. Yeah, just one of the houses we lived in.
This is our first drawing from you?
These are some, I guess my brother has them in he's collected various things over the years that I left behind, I think, mainly.
But you was already, for you it was at that age already clear here when...
Yeah, this was like probably 1963 or 4. Yeah, that's me, and that's my cousin. These are my Swiss cousins.
Mm.
They're not Swiss, but I mean, they were living in Switzerland already. They were back on visit, and that's Deborah. We were very good friends.
You started to draw, for you drawing was something special at that age already?
No. I mean, I drew I drew a lot, but I wasn't thinking of myself as an art. That came later. This is also drawing from the early 60s. And it looks better to me now than it did when I made it.
It looks not bad at all.
Oh, it's done out of need.
Done out of what?
Need.
Need.
Necessity.
Necessity, yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. Here I see already.
You can see Paul Klay's influence. No, I started drawing seriously. I was very aware of what I was doing when I was 16, when I came to Switzerland, and I was in this very dogmatic environment, with a lot of, and also, but there was a young woman next door that I immediately fell in love with, Christine, and she had learned some English at school, but and I didn't speak French yet. But we met every week would spend her 3 days. She was working at a home for spastic children. She was and I would make lots of drawings, and then I would bring all the drawings to show her. And that was part of our communication. But also, I was discovering that was a way I could look at things that I was seeing in my mind without having to justify them to the people in this religious community. A thing. If you expressed what you were thinking in words, you could very quickly get into trouble. People will start being worried about your spiritual life. Maybe you're getting wrong ideas, you're taking a wrong path. I left the sect that my mother was in, but I was being very sick every year. And there was a doctor who wanted to operate on me. He said that my lungs, the lower part of my lungs had died, bronchiectasis. He wanted to cut them out. My father came back from sea. He intervened. My mother had already made a date for the operation. And he took me to a famous lung specialist in the University Hospital in Philadelphia. And he very quickly, he talked to my mother and father, to me. Then he listened to my chest. And then he said, this boy is perfectly healthy, but he needs to get out of the house. But then I learned many years later from my brother that he took my father aside and he said, this boy needs to leave home. He didn't just mean get outside and play sports. So my father contacted these aunt and uncle that were living in Switzerland and said, can Jonathan come and live with you they invited me to come live for a year. So that's how I got away from my home. Oh, that's one of my early drawings.
Who is that? This is
This is
a
one
Swiss
of this is
farmer?
one, no. This is one of the two drawings. This is a double. One of the two drawings I ever made from a photograph. After making these two drawings, I decided I never would do it again. I didn't like the feeling of working from a photograph. It sort of felt like eating food that somebody else had chewed and spit up. Yeah, these are my studio in Leiden, and these matrix, what I called matrix drawings. And 3 of these were bought during the 80s by the Stedelijk Museum. Here I'm at the door of that. Also, these are drawings from this. Those are from the early 70s, I think. And this is one of my meditations on the origin of the world. You know, the Democritus idea of, the elements falling in perfect parallel lines forever and ever, and then one element deviates, knocks against another, and that's the beginning of the world. Out of that disorder comes the world. But here I imagine these parallel horizontal lines, and then it comes sort of a wave energy, so that some of the lines are pushed up to weave into the others, and you get these in refraction patterns. So that's the same. These are earlier from the 60s. These were sort of things I was doing when I lived in Strasbourg. These.
That's a funny one.
This is a Danone yogurt cup that I cut into pieces.
Okay. So we have. Here's.
This is fairly recent.
Yeah.
This was early. That was in Romain-Mortier in Switzerland.
And this is a soul portrait as well, huh?
No.
No?
It's an emotional portrait.
Oh.
I don't know if any of this consciousness portraits.
Consciousness portrait.
I don't think there are any in here in my brother's collection. These are some things I was doing in the 60s. This little monster. This is one of when I was working in the insane asylum in Switzerland, one of my patients. And this is that museum in Switzerland where I had my exhibition. Roland Scotty was there Saturday. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. The whole museum was filled with my work.
Dasein.
Yeah.
Being.
There's Roland in front of the. Where's that me?
How would you translate Dasein in English? Dasein.
It's sort of here-ness. Stop being here. Being
here.
Yeah. I lost a sale because of that title of my. There was a very famous curator that Aurel Scheibler sat me next to at dinner after Art Basel, and he said, "This man is deciding to buy some of your drawings for the collection." And the first question he asked me was, "Why in the world did you put the word Dasein in the title of your book with Steidl?" And I had thought of it. He was thinking of it as Heidegger's Dasein, and he was a man who had lost 5 or 6 family members in Auschwitz. So for him, that was, he said, I want you to write me a letter and explain why you used the word Dasein. I never got the letter written. And a year later, he retired. He was the curator from the Chicago Art Institute's collection of drawings. So that was that. I can understand his feelings about it.
And you wrote him a letter?
No, I never got the letter written. Because that was, if someone associated that meaning of that word so closely with Heidegger, I had sort of the feeling, well, that's burned it. Maybe I could have gotten through that scar.
But you were thinking on Heidegger as well?
No, I wasn't. I was just thinking of the actual literal meaning of it. Because I first thought of I had an English title, Being Here. And then, of course, Roland Scotti, Dasein, that's the equivalent in German. So I remember the afternoon we talked about it. I just didn't consider these ramifications. But for me, it was the point of an art which begins in the moment of perception, not from a concept or an idea, but the birth spark, is in that moment, the sperm, you might say. So that's also somebody from the Insane Asylum in Switzerland, where I worked.